love letters and welcome. Love letters are collection of love stories of people get lost, get crazy in the name of love. Another week, another great love letter that we will read through Miss Karen.
Welcome. Yes, here is a letter from Angel. Dear Daniel and Karen, I am reaching out to both of you with a sincere and thoughtful concern about love, responsibility, and the balance between the two. There is a situation that has been weighing on my mind, and I value your perspective because of your wisdom and life experience. It involves someone who genuinely loves their partner but is struggling with neglecting their responsibilities in life. This tension between emotional commitment and personal accountability is not easy to navigate. I believe your insight could bring clarity to this situation. The individual in question demonstrates real care and affection and emotional presence in the relationship. However, there are noticeable gaps when it comes to fulfilling responsibilities, such as in career, personal growth, and long term stability. While love is clearly present, it sometimes feels overshadowed by a lack of discipline and follow through. This creates an imbalance that may eventually affect both partners. The question arises whether love alone is enough to sustain a healthy relationship. I am wondering how one can truly express genuine love while also encouraging accountability and growth. At what point does support become enabling? And where should boundaries be drawn? It is difficult to determine how to help someone rise to their responsibilities without damaging the relationship. There is also the concern of whether continued neglect could lead to resentment over time. Striking the right balance seems critical but complex. From your perspective, what would be the most constructive way to approach this situation? Should the focus be on patience and understanding or on setting firm expectations and consequences? How can someone communicate their needs without making the other person feel inadequate or pressured? I am especially interested in how to maintain respect, honesty, and emotional connection while addressing these challenges. Your guidance would be deeply appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to consider this matter. I trust your judgment and believe your advice could help bring both clarity and direction. Relationships require both love and responsibility, and finding harmony between them is essential. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and recommendations, and your insight will truly make a difference. Yours truly, Angel.
Angel from above. It's something good. Thank you for your letter, and for sure, our listeners will be empowered through our knowledge and wisdom coming from God. You are standing in a difficult but very real place where love and responsibility are no longer aligned. It is important to begin by acknowledging that your love is genuine and meaningful. Loving someone deeply is not a weakness, it's a strength. However, love must exist within a structure that supports growth and stability. Without the structure, even the strongest feelings can be will become strained. You need to understand that love is not just what you feel, but what you consistently do. A partner who neglects responsibility may feel still love, but love without action creates imbalance. Over time, that imbalance can turn into frustration and emotional fatigue, and it's not wrong to expect both have an accountability. In fact, it is necessary for healthy relationship.
That is so great, Daniel. That is perfect, beautiful wisdom right there. What Daniel just described is it's this balance because yes, love and emotional connection and having this beautiful connection is amazing, but it's not the whole story. It's not the whole relationship because the question you need to ask yourself, writer, is this an irresponsibility on the part of your partner? Is this a character flaw? Is it a lack of ambition or desire to have personal growth? And this is going to take some patience, yes, patience on your part, but also some honest communication with your partner. I mean, part of a loving relationship is being able to talk and share your goals. And that might be an unthreatening way to approach it, is to say, okay, partner, these are some of the goals I have for the next few years of my life. Could you tell me what are some of the goals that you have in your life? And just that way, touch and see where their hearts and thoughts are.
Well said, Miss Karen. Well said indeed. And Angel, one of the most important steps you can take is to clarify your own standards. What does a responsible partner look like to you? What are the non negotiable in your life moving forward? Without defining these clearly, you risk accepting less than what you truly need. Clarify within yourself. It is a foundation of any decision you make. You must also recognize the difference between supporting someone and carrying them. Supporting encourages growth and independence. Carrying someone removes their need to grow. If your partner is not being challenged to rise, then the dynamic may be unintentionally be holding them back.
That's very good. That's excellent advice right there. As Daniel's talking about, figure out what are the priorities for you and your relationship. What can I have grace for, and what are some not, as you said, non-negotiables, things that really need to be in place. Now, there are consequences when someone says they're going to do something and then they don't do it. Then there are repercussions to that. Can you really trust them? Because part of trust is just like Daniel was saying, you don't just say it, you do it. You say you're going to pick something up on the way home and you don't. Did you just forget it? Well, forgetting something is, you can have grace for that. But what if this is a chronic thing that happens on a regular basis? Then there's a problem, and it's something you should really endeavor to discuss with your partner. Find time to say, look, there's some things I'd like to, talk about. And you can always address it from your own issues before you, make it feel like an attack to them or a criticism to them, but just that I really want to count on you. And in this arena, this is something that I I don't see I can do right now.
Indeed. And Angel, honest communication is essential, but it must be intentional and grounded. Speak from the place of truth, not accusation. Focus on how the situation affects you rather than attacking their character. This creates space for understanding rather than defensiveness. The goal is not to win an argument but create awareness. Pay attention to how your partner responds to these conversations. Words are easy, but change requires effort. If they listen, reflect, and begin to take action, that is a positive sign. If they reflect, avoid, or make excuses, that is also an answer. Response matters more than promises.
I like that. Response matters more than promises. And if this is someone that keeps breaking promises, the question is, how deep is their love? And love, involves responsibility and accountability with each other. That's part of love. A loving relationship where you're going to count on each other means you do what you say. You're where you're supposed to be. You're moving in a direction that is beneficial to both parties. And also, when you're having this conversation that Daniel and I are talking about, you're not bringing up every old thing in the bucket, right? Because you're able to share on a pretty fresh basis, on a daily basis, the things that are going on. Then you don't have a big pile to lay on them. That kind of passive aggressive behavior is not good for communication or for building trust in a relationship. So try not to do that. And of course, Daniel and I come from a place of believing faith. So we know that if this is something that you see is a chronic issue in your partner, don't neglect praying for them, because God, who loves them, wants to see them come up in maturity. If it's a maturity issue, because that what you're describing sounds like a relationship like when you're in college and you don't have a lot of responsibilities, and you're not really too worried about it. But as you get older, your responsibilities get more serious. They have to do with family or children or jobs that and bills. So look at, your age makes a difference, your station in life, and the level of maturity that you're walking in. You certainly want to walk together in maturity and grow together. So this is something you can help through prayer.
Grow together, definitely, Angel. You should introduce clear and healthy boundaries into the relationship. Boundaries are not about control, they're about self respect. They communicate what you will win and will not accept moving forward. Without boundaries, patterns tend to repeat. With boundaries, there is an opportunity to change. It's important to give a space for growth, but not unlimited time with progress. Growth requires both intention and consistency. If there's no movement over time, then situation is not evolving. Patient must be balanced with discernment. Otherwise, you risk losing yourself in the process.
That is so true. And none of us likes that feeling of losing ourselves in the process. And, we want healthy relationships, right? That's our goal here. And love, these are things that we're talking about that are actually part of love. Part of love is being responsible. I can say to my husband, I love you, but if I don't do the things I tell him I'm going to do, is he going to believe me? Are my words empty? Are they really filled with the desire to be true in what I do?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. You also need to reflect on how this dynamic is affecting your well being, Angel. Are you feeling supported, or are you constantly compensating? Are you at peace, or are you carrying quiet frustration? Your emotional state is a signal that should not be ignored. It reveals whether the relationship is nourishing or draining you. Respect is a key component that often gets overlooked. When responsibility is neglected, respect can begin to fade. Without respect, love becomes unstable, and strong relationship requires both partners to show up in ways that reinforces trust and reliability. This is built through consistent actions.
That is good. I hope you're listening, Angel, because this is some really good advice coming forward. And as Daniel was talking about prioritizing, because there's some things that really, in the scheme of things, may not matter,
Yeah.
because we're not perfect. Our partners aren't perfect, and we're not perfect. We're not looking for perfection, and it's really important to have a little bit of sense of humor with the things that don't matter. Do they put their toothpaste cap back on the toothpaste? Do they leave the seat up or down? There's things that you can let go of and say, this is not as important as did you pick up the children from school. There's some on a scale of 1 to 10, one maybe a 1 and 1 to 10. Pick your battles, so to speak. Pick the things that Daniel described as your non-negotiables, things that really need to be part of the relationship. And these are things you need to talk about when nobody's angry about it. Talking about it in anger, just raises up people's hostilities and their walls. They're not going to be able to listen. It needs to be in a calm time and place of, okay, this is something that I'm having struggle with and I need to talk to you about, or this is the way this makes me feel. What do you say about it? And hear each other, listen to each other, and find out what each other's priorities, because there may be some things that are left unsaid on your partner's side that need to be said also.
Definitely. And Angel, encourage your partner to take ownership of their life. Responsibility cannot be forced, but it can be invited. Let them know what is needed, but allow them decide how they will respond. This creates accountability without control. Their response will reveal their level of commitment. There are many come a moment when you have to take difficult decision. It is imbalance continues and your needs remain unmet. They must consider what is best for your future. Staying in one side relationship can lead to a long-term dissatisfaction or dissatisfaction. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary.
Ooh, that is good. I like that. It's necessary. Um, the other thing is that when you're looking at the wholeness of the relationship, you describe there being an emotional presence, that there's a good connection, that there's a lot of affection and love, and those are just so important and they're wonderful. Um, and that is the things you can talk about, start of, I love the how much you make me feel loved with this in this circumstances. um but these are things that we need to talk about too, and solve these problems together, because nobody likes the feeling of being taken for granted, or that maybe you've taken up more than half of the responsibilities. And so this imbalance is because, wow, one person's picking up all the responsibility and the other partner is just enjoying the fruit of it. And there's consequences to that, and these are things that you need to know about your partner. Have you got goals? Have you got dreams? Have you got visions? Have you got the desire to take up more responsibility here? Because there are seasons in our relationships where one partner, because the other one is pursuing maybe an education, and so you need to take up more of the responsibility of the support during this season, and then once they finish that, then they can take over, so maybe you can have a child. There's all kinds of ways to make it work in the big picture, but there needs to be that communication. There needs to be that conversation that says, what do you want in the big picture with our relationship? And here's, as Daniel's saying, what I want to happen in our relationship.
Indeed. And Miss Angel, at the same time, do not rush to conclusion without giving space for change. People can grow when they are confronted with the truth and supported with clarity. The key is to observe whether growth is actually happening. Hope should be grounded in evidence, not just intention. Remember that you deserve a relationship where love and responsibility exist together. You deserve a partner who not only cares for you emotionally, but also shows up in life with purpose and accountability. Settling for less will eventually cost you peace. Holding your standard protects your future.
Holding a standard protects your future. That is a great statement right there. So, Angel, we encourage you to have this conversation with your partner in a way that is peaceful. Fix their favorite meal, or do something pleases them, and say, we're going to have a talk. There's something I need to get off my chest, and I hope you can hear me, and find a way that we can be on the same page with this. So as Daniel and I lift you up, we thank you for this letter, Angel, and hope that you have heard some really good advice here in this conversation.
Yes. So in the end, Miss Angel, this is about alignment. Love must align with action, and emotion must align with responsibility. When those elements come together, a relationship becomes strong and sustainable. If they remain separate, tension will continue to grow. Choose the path that leads to both love and stability. Miss
Love.
Karen, yes, would you like to plug in something?
Oh, yes, listeners, if you enjoyed the conversation that Daniel and I have had here with Love Letters, we'd love for you to come and listen to some of our other podcasts we do together, including Bible Verses 101, Positive Parenting, and Homeschooling 101. So join us at your convenience. Blessings.
Yes, people, please support us because every Saturday, Miss Karen and I are live throughout social media. And if you don't like our lives, please do support us on wherever you listen your podcast because Love Letters and Bible Verses 101 are available wherever you listen your podcast. And for two podcasts that we are doing, it's not yet, but as we said, we are live every Saturday. So, Miss Karen, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure, Daniel. Thank you so much. And listeners, remember, we love you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Welcome, people. See you soon.